Good evening, teacher. I am student Gabriela Jacqueline Patilima. In this occasion, I'm going to explain Book 28, Lesson 1 of the This is the first grammar. The content of the grammar are modals auxiliaries, review, to substitution, a plus time word, frequency, suffix ist. Let's go to the first slide. This is imagine that explained as this is a brief explain of the modals that we can use in the sentences, and some of them could express obligation, advice, no obligation, permission, advice, negative or prohibition. For understand better, let's go to the first grammar. Before to start, consider that it's important remember the correct use in for the two modals in a sentences. Okay, let's go with the first. That when we use a modal, we don't need to put an infinitive. For example, I can to play is wrong. The correct way to express this is I can play. Next, second rule, no s. Modal verbs have no s in the third person. For example, John can speak Korean. This is correct, but if we said John can't, is totally wrong. Third rule, maybe we can use we can't use auxiliaries when we are using a modal. For example, can you help me is correct, but if you put do you can help me is wrong. We don't use auxiliaries. The auxiliaries do with modals. And the fourth rule is no infinitives or participles. Okay, before a modal, the verb can't be in past or in ing verb. For example, I can play is wrong. I can play the same. The correct is I can play. Before, after that, continue with the explanation. Can. It's used to express ability, and also is maybe for requires. Can and may, but express requires permission and possibility. Can is informal and may formal and polite. The same with the questions may I and can I. For example, may I is for persons that I don't know, I don't meet before, maybe for formal interviews with important persons. And can I is for maybe familiars, for your parents, for your friends, for people that are close to you. Could, would, and will is used to express polite request. Would also means possibility. Might, to talk about something that could or can happen. Might is higher because it is more likely to happen, and might implies that the action may not happen or has a very low chance. Should, ought to, and had better. This express advice or recommendation. For questions and negative sentences, we can use should and had better. For example, we use should every time when we want to give an advice or opinion, and ought to is used instead of should that have the same meaning. Had better is used when it's advisable to do something. If you don't there will be a problem or a change. And other uses for should and ought to is to express expectation. Should express a subjective opinion. Ought to, on the other hand, we are when we are dealing with a modal verb or obligation, and what we say is an objective truth in itself. Must and have to. Must refers to an obligation between two people or an obligation that you feel. And have to refers to an external obligation of the rules of the law, for example, of the law of something you have to do. And other use for the modal must is must plus verb to be and plus verb ing. And we use this to express possibility or give a conclusion in base of information that we have. For understand better, let's look the examples. Can you cook? As I told you, I cannot cook. In this case, we are expressing an ability. Can I play outside, Grandma? Yes, you can there, but you're not allowed. In this case, it means maybe that how the kid is talking with his grandma is a person that the kid knows. So we can use can I in this case for a request, because it is formal. May I use your computer today? Yes, you may. In this case, maybe you are talking about with your boss, with something important, or maybe from a person that you don't know. So when we use may I, is more formal and polite. Could you please give me more coffee? In this case, could you or would you help me carry these books, please? As I said, it's common using a sentences would and please or could and please. Will you make me a copy of this essay for me? In this case, all of this has a formal and polite request. Has a formal meaning and polite meaning. Your grades aren't very good. You should study hard. You look tired. You ought to sleep more. I had better not meet my friends today. In this case, if you notice, ought to is the only that is permitted to use to. The only. And all of this means that the person is giving an advice or a recommendation. You must complete the project by Friday. We have to complete the project by Friday. In this case, must and have to have different meanings. Pay attention in this, please. In the first with must, the meaning is that the teacher is giving the students an obligation and instructions. And with have to, the teacher has given us the obligation. Notice that, please. It's time to lunch. Where is Jack? He always does it. He must be sleepy. In this case, maybe the conclusion is based in an information that we have. Maybe it is common that Jack doesn't be at the time of the breakfast, so the conclusion is that he must be sleeping. To substitution. When don't need to repeat a whole phrase, we substitute it with to. For example, we have in this case two rules. The first is that after the verbs that take infinitive objectives, we can use to as a substitution, as after adjectives following be. For example, Sherry asked me if I had vacations. I told her that I want to, but it isn't probable. In this case, for not repeat all the phrase that I said before, I put I want to. In this case, I want to have vacations. And the second, these boxes are too heavy. Could you help me? Sure, I will get to. Instead of said, help you to these boxes. To omit is for make a short answer or maybe a short phrase. Do you want to go to the shopping today? Sorry, I can't afford to. In this case, we are omitting with to go to the shopping today. using a and a plus a sign word to indicate frequency. Okay, when we need to answer the question how often, we commonly use frequency expressions, and the most common are once, twice, several, 3 times, one time, 4 times. In the others, for example, and before this we put a or an. Okay, let's look at the examples. How often does she go to the library? She goes about twice a week. We visit my parents once a week. The elevator is used several times a day. In this case, we are answering the question how often. How often we visit my parents? Once a week. How often the elevator is used? Several times a day. And the last grammar, the suffixes ist. The suffixes ist can be added at the end of a word to create a noun used for a job or professions. It's common, maybe the following nouns is common see in a sentences: florist, dentist, pianist, tourist, journalist. In this case, when we put ist, we are changing the meaning of the word, but in special in a profession. Okay, this is all. Thank you for your attention.